Hi everybody, it's Jan on the road, also known as Jan the Man. I am here this time not in sunny, hot Dubai, but in cold but sunny Amsterdam. Here we're at one of the many canals in Amsterdam, and we are here today to go to the Anne Frank house. We're standing in front of Anne Frank's house. I'll show you that in a minute, but first I'm going to tell you a bit about Anne Frank herself. So Anne Frank was born on the 12th of June 1929 in Frankfurt. When she was 4, she had to move out of Frankfurt because it was getting too dangerous for Jewish in Germany, and Anne Frank was Jewish, so they decided to move to Amsterdam, where the father ran a company called Opekta, where normally it would take, Opekta made jam, and normally it would take like 13 hours to make jam, but in Opekta it would take 10 minutes. So Anne Frank went to school here peacefully and made new friends.
And what was she like?
Anne Frank was, she was a pretty big of a chatterbox. She liked to read history and Greek myths, and she liked to play ping pong. And she often got told off in class because she was chattering too much. Anne Frank didn't think the most important thing about school was getting good grades, but it was to have fun. She lived a normal childhood in the Netherlands until 1940, where Germany invaded the Netherlands, where the German army had tanks and everything, and the Germans came on the Dutch came on bicycles. But the Nazi weren't that terrible yet, and then they thought it was okay, but then slowly bit by bit it started to change direction. The Nazis were putting regulations on which weren't fair for the Jewish, and then in 1942 Margot, Anne Frank's sister, she got a letter which she had to be sent to a labor camp, a working camp in Germany, and that's when the Frank family decided to go into hiding in their company house. Now I'm standing in front of the actual Anne Frank house. This is the entrance to Otto Frank's company. Otto Frank is Anne Frank's dad. And then the Dutch houses are thin. Well, not thin. They're tall but thin, because you used to have to pay the width of the house that much tax, but not how tall it was. But then there was a second house behind this where the annex was built in, and they prepared the annex for several months before Margot got the letter.
Prepared for what?
They prepared to go into hiding. The secret part where Anna was hiding in was behind this house, and the Nazis didn't know that behind a house there was often a second house, and this house also had it. So that's when they went into hiding in the second house, and there was the annex, and then, not to make it that obvious, there was a door there was a bookshelf which went in front of the annex, that they wouldn't see the doorway. They had to be really quiet because the people working in the company didn't know that they were there, so they couldn't use the bathroom during the day from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they had to be really quiet when they were talking, and they had to walk on their tiptoes.
Who was living there? Hiding? Who was hiding there?
Anne Frank, Margot, her older sister, Otto Frank, her father, and Edith Frank, her mother. But then they were joined by 3 others, and then later on another one joined.
And how long were they hiding there, and what happened then?
They hid there for 4 years. No, 2 years. They hid there for 2 years, but then people don't know exactly, but people think that somebody gave them away and the Nazis stormed the Annex. Here behind me you can see the clock tower, the exact same one that Anne Frank saw from the attic of the Annex, sorry. And she would go up to the attic and then to get fresh air, to look at the sky, to look at the trees, and then the biggest view she had was onto the clock tower, and every day when she was in the attic she would hear a chime. When Anne Frank was in hiding, she wrote a diary, and she felt that that was the only place where she could express herself and feelings. But then after the war, her father, Otto Frank, found the diary and brought it out to be a book, but then he himself was amazed how serious her thoughts were. He was amazed how little he knew her, although they were close. They were sent to Auschwitz because the Nazis found them. They stormed the house and found them. But the Allies already landed in Normandy, France, and invaded France, and they thought they were so close. And the thing is, they took the last train out. They took the last train out to the labor camps. And Otto Frank, Anne Frank's dad, was the only one who survived from all the 8. Recently they built a museum of the Anne Frank house. So we're going to walk through the company house and the annex. We can't film inside. Now I'm going to show you a model of the secret annex where Anne and her family and the 4 others were hiding. Have fun! This is the entrance to the secret annex, which was a bookcase to cover where there was a bookcase which you could pull and push to cover the door. And then the door frame was high, so they put a map of Belgium, nobody knows why, to cover the upper part of the door. And then this is where you would go into one of the rooms, and up these ladders would be the attic. So then here you would go into Otto's, Edith's, and Margot's room. I assume, and there was also the living room, and there's also a stove. I assume that Edith slept here, Otto slept here, and Margot, she slept on that little type of bed. This is Anne's and Pfeffer's room, and that is Anne's desk there, and you can see a little checkered book on the desk, which is her diary. That is Mr. Pfeffer's bed, and then the couch is actually Anne's bed. And then here on the wall there are posters which Anne hung up from her favorite movie stars. And then if you go through this little door, you end up in the bathroom. which you can also enter from when you go in. And there's only hot water in the office, so there was no hot water in the bathroom. So there was the sink, a table, some towels, and when you go in this tiny room, you would see there's a toilet inside. This is the communal kitchen and common area. There are 2 more stoves here, 1 sink, a few pots and pans, 1 table with seats. The windows are painted black that nobody can see through them to see them. And then there are 2 beds for sleeping. And one is against the wall just for space, to keep space. The Van Gelissen Van Pels slept here. The mom and dad Van Pels here and here beds. And then here was another way up to the attic, and the son from the mother and father of Van Pels sleeps here. And here's his desks and books. There's a bike. And then the entrance to. So then you would also, there was the other room. You would enter then from here, and then into here, and then everywhere else. Look at the church and the clock tower, which you can see right now. And on the clock tower, there are 3 X's marked. The color is red, which means the fire, which burned down 80% of Amsterdam. The black, the plague, and the white, the flood. You have to be very careful not to be run over by some bicycles. I'm just out of the Anne Frank house, and there was a lot of information, and the information was intense. But let's remember that Anne Frank was one of the millions of people who lost their lives all around the world in World War II. I recommend this place if you ever stop by in Amsterdam. Jan the Man, signing out.